I'm Bill Oughton of Oughton Claims Management.
I'm Chantal Roberts of CMR Consulting, and welcome to the Art of Adjusting podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about life as an insurance adjuster from the perspective of property, auto, liability, or workers' compensation adjusters. Our goal is to bring interesting topics in the world of claims adjusting to people who are working as an adjuster now and to people who are considering a career as a claims adjuster.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, Chantal, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I can't believe it's December already. Before we know it, it's going to be 2026.
That is a little weird for me because I have to tell you, we just stopped or we just finished up watching Downton Abbey, and it ends on January 1st, 1926. So 100 years ago, basically.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, look at how much things have changed. And yet, how many things don't change? Because this leads us to the topic of the rules of the road. Because
Yes.
cars were new then, and there's this story, and I have no idea if it's true or not, but like the very first car accident in the United States was in Ohio because two people, the only two cars in Ohio happened to hit one another, and you're like, how does that even happen? So I don't know if that really happened or not, but we're going to talk about the rules of the road today, and I'll tell you why. The reason is when I facilitate CPCU 530, I give an example when we're talking about liability about a car accident, and I show the people who are in the tests or that I'm facilitating the conversations with. I show them a police report, and then I say who's at fault, and I'll show them a picture, and every single time they say it's the person making the left-hand turn. And of course, I'd love to have an auto adjuster in this particular class with me to see what she would say. But every single time it's a left-hand turn, and it's not necessarily. So I think that we should go ahead and go over all, well, not all, but the majority of our rules of the road. And, like those four-way stop things, right? Those get a little weird.
Well, left-hand turns, we could probably talk the entire episode just about left-hand turns. They're a little more complicated than any other maneuver you're going to make because you've got to sit and you got to wait for traffic to clear. Now, if you're in an area where there's 4 lanes, let's say, you've got to look for traffic to clear from both of those lanes coming towards you. There's an intersection near me where there's 5 lanes because there's a turn lane also. And there happens to be a curve and a hill there. So when there are cars in the turn lane, they're blocking the view of anything else coming from the other way. It's a bad intersection, and probably once a month I go through that intersection after there's been an accident.
Right.
So that's a problem. And as you're approaching an intersection like that, knowing that there may be cars ahead of you turning left, you also have a duty to evade if there is a situation where someone turns in front of you and didn't see you because of the road conditions, because there was other cars, maybe a big semi-tractor trailer in the left-hand turn lane blocking the view.
Exactly.
You've got to be conscious about the fact that you're approaching that intersection and the people turning left may not see you.
Yes.
And
I want to talk about duties real quick, because it is everyone's duty here that is listening to like, follow, subscribe, and share on YouTube and Spotify, and like bring a friend, so we can get more listeners, because it helps comment too, because it totally helps the algorithm pick us up, and then we become more popular, and our heads would get even bigger.
yeah.
I do want to mention that. So
Yeah,
please.
and if you share it, we'll be extra happy.
Oh, we will be extra happy. We might even, like, if you share it and then comment that you've shared it, we may actually do you a call out or something. I don't know. Yeah. So yes, your duty to yield. And this is the part that I think the people who are participating in the CPCU 530, which is the the legal environment for claims or for insurance. It's not just claims, the legal environment for insurance. So, hey, go ahead and get your CPC, you guys. At least take
Hmm.
530 facilitation with me, and you'll learn all sorts of cool stuff. But duty to yield. I think this pretty much encompasses the majority of what gets my goat about this sort of thing. Because yes, you are making a left-hand turn. And what I show the people in the facilitation classes, I show them three pictures. One is the picture of a car, a blue car, with the damage on the passenger rear quarter panel. And the participants will still say, oh no, that's the blue car's fault. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because that blue car had control of the intersection. And it's like it's a new concept to them.
Mm.
So I thought we might talk about that a little bit. Like this duty to yield. Just because you've got the right of way doesn't mean you continue barreling down the road.
Right. There could be a situation where a vehicle is just stopped in front of you.
Hmm.
That doesn't, and you can't just say, well, I have the right of way.
I'm
I
going to
get to
rear
go
end
through
them.
here.
Or right, right. I mean, you
So
know better than that.
yeah, and a car turning left usually is going pretty slow. And
Mm.
if it gets all the way through that intersection and you tag the
The rear
passenger
end.
side rear corner of it, it tells me that you had plenty of time to let off the gas, hit the brake,
Yes, absolutely.
maybe relax your speed a little bit to avoid a collision.
Right.
Or you grip the wheel, you hit the accelerator, and you said something along the lines of "You son of a bleepity blap,"
Beep.
and then the collision occurred after that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've just handled a case like that where the rear passenger side of a vehicle was hit. They had made it through the intersection. There was a hill. The
Mm-hmm.
car crested the hill as our guy was turning left.
Yes.
Um, the driver of the other vehicle must have got confused because the collision actually took place in the driveway, not
Oh.
in the road.
Mm.
So whatever they were doing, I don't know. They thought they were being evasive but they misjudged or whatever.
Mm.
And the physical collision took place well off the road.
Right.
So off the white line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and you do have that continuing duty of reasonable care, and you had mentioned this, and you're mentioning hills, and I think that's also something that is particularly important. And this isn't like a driving course that we're talking about. We're talking about assessing liability in automobile claims, but if you are insured or your claimant is sitting there going, look, I was coming up a hill, I was topping the hill, and this guy was suddenly in front of me, is it the person that hit the other car's fault, or is it the person who was turning's fault? You kind of have to look at that because in your duty of reasonable care, if you know that you're coming, even if, let's say, I'm going to go visit Bill, I don't know where he lives, I don't know what the streets are like, but if I see a hill, I'm going to kind of slow down when
Right.
I'm getting ready to top it because I don't know. There could be a total traffic jam right over the crest and I'm going to rear end someone. Does that mean that I go 5 miles an hour? Absolutely not, because that isn't driving with, reasonable care either. It's like having grandma on the freeway.
We live in an area heavily populated by Mennonites and
Mm,
Amish
mm,
folks, and they are always in their carriages with horse-drawn carriages,
mm.
and it's a hilly area. And you come over a hill, you don't know if there's going to be a wagon full of kids towed by a horse on the other side of that hill. So you really have to have your wits about you to make sure that you're being safe, and that you have an opportunity to slow or brake when you need to. And that's really what we're talking about in this left-hand turn scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
if and the example I gave was several lanes that may be blocked where your view is blocked. I've had other claims that it was just 2 lanes, and our guy was turning left, and the car across the way was also turning left. So they
Yeah.
both were kind of like turning left. Well, our guy turns left. This motorcycle comes around the other
Yes.
car
Mm,
turning left, and our guy, of course, didn't see him until he was flying over the hood of the truck.
right.
And that, it's a horrible accident, but that can happen too. And
In this particular instance, I would say that it's the motorcycle's fault for veering around at the other car at a
right.
speed.
So if you look at the decision making that was going on between let's say these three vehicles, okay,
Right.
we've got
Right.
one headed north turning left and one headed south turning left. And both those folks can tell that their path is clear because each of them have their signals on and they both know that they're going to be turning left fairly safe. And then you've
Mhm.
got a motorcyclist who makes a decision to go around that at a at an accelerated speed,
Mhm.
enough to cause the accident that happened here, which was very bad. And so, who made the poorest decision of those three people? And you'd have to say it'd be the motorcycle
Mhm.
because he clearly did not see what was ahead of the car in front of him.
Right.
Um, and he would have to assume that if the car ahead of him was able to make a left-hand turn, then possibly there was one in front of him also making a left-hand turn.
Or
He
there
rolled
was
the dice
oncoming
and lost on
traffic.
that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And excuse me, another, and I don't know where the traffic the damage was on your particular example, but in my example, it does involve a motorcycle as well. But I show the second picture that I show is where the damage is on the passenger side door. Well, I mean, that's like
Hmm.
smack dab in the middle of the car. So maybe both of them had a little bit of a duty. I mean,
Right.
obviously, we already have one car that's in the intersection. That's the left car. And then, of course, the through car has the right of way. So, of course, I always hate comparative negligence and 60, 70, 30, 40 kind of percentage. But I mean, maybe this is what we do too. But you
They
still,
seem arbitrary sometimes,
mm,
but to me, the best way to get at a number is to ask to poll people and get
mm,
their opinions
mm, round
because
tabling.
I don't know how else otherwise you're just like the dictator. This is what I declare. It's
Right.
a 60-40 situation and
Hmm.
our guy is only 40% liable. Well, what's that based on? And
Yeah.
and if you taking the motorcycle example I just gave, where you've got these three individuals, I would say that the one making the left-hand turn did nothing wrong. They
Mm.
were just turning left. Our guy turning left. Could he have maybe paid a little more attention to what might have been behind that other vehicle? Possibly.
He's
Uh,
supposed to be because he
he's
can't make
supposed
a
to be
left hand turn until it's
until he knows it's
clear,
clear.
right?
Um, did
But
could he anticipate that the motorcycle would come around the shoulder and and then you make a good point about point of impact. If he had hit squarely in the center of our guy's vehicle, that tells you one thing. If it was the passenger right front corner, that would tell you a little more. If it was the center of the passenger door, that tells you a lot more. And if it was the back corner of the truck, passenger side, that tells you a lot more too. That maybe that motorcycle had plenty of time to kind of veer or avoid the collision.
And I feel that that right there, what you said was the points of impact is important. I feel that that's the point that isn't stressed enough with our new adjusters when they are learning auto liability and learning how to determine liability. I feel because, for example, if you get the police report, and all claims team leaders will say, "Oh, get the police report," and that sort of thing, it will naturally put the fault at the person making the left hand turn. But that doesn't mean he's negligent for the loss. We've got to look at a lot of different things, such as the damages. Maybe there's a camera on the poles that we can get a copy of. We've talked about that. You and I've talked
Yeah.
about all the other types of evidence that we can gather. But point of impact used to be a huge thing when I was handling auto liability, and it does not seem to be stressed enough now. I don't know if you found the same thing or in talking with other adjusters.
Um, I don't find that it's ignored. We tend to raise it when we need to, because I think it's an important issue. And we do have something called the last clear chance doctrine.
Yes, thank you.
And
That's the other thing. Yep.
and when you look at the point of impact, you can ask yourself, did the person who struck the other car have an opportunity to avoid it? And they can say, well, they shouldn't have turned left in front of me, so that's how it happened. But you saw them there, and
Mhm.
you had time. And how do you know they had time? You can do accident reconstruction that will tell you how much time they actually had. We had a case involving a tractor trailer recently, and the the truck was making a kind of a tight right-hand turn.
Mhm.
A passenger vehicle was in the left lane, and it had pulled up. There's there's a stop line that's way far back in the left lane, because trucks typically make this left-hand turn and their back of the trailer kicks out as they go out around
Right.
this turn. And if there's a
Mhm.
car there, it will hit them. So this car was over that white line, and it was stopped in an area where it shouldn't have been because of, this scenario. So when the truck started to make their turn, the back swiped the car.
Mm.
It was a very low impact claim. We've talked about minimal damage and low
Right.
impact, missed claims, right?
Yes. Yep.
Um,
Yep. Minor impact. Wait.
s-
See, I call it minor. Oh, soft tissue, minor
Soft
impact
tissue,
soft
right?
tissue, because I call it list, low impact soft tissue. But yes,
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
So
go
that's
look
what
up that episode. It's something.
it's, yeah, somewhere. It's I think one of our first or second ones
Yeah.
together. But the so in that case, it was low impact, minor injuries. They sued for millions of dollars, whatever,
Mm.
But in that case, you can say, okay, who had the last clear chance there? So the truck driver probably knew, or should have known, that the intersection was set up in a way to make sure cars were not in that too far advanced in that left lane. That car that was there should not have been there. Both of them should have had an awareness of some sort that the lane was set up this way for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so who in that scenario had the last clear chance? Was it the truck driver or the car? The car was stopped at the light. They were in the wrong spot, but they were stopped. It was the forward motion of the truck that's the only thing that could have prevented that, is if that truck waited or honked their horn or told this person, "Hey, look out!" Um, it was 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
There were street lights, but it was nighttime. Um, Now, one of the things that we did there, which is not really relevant to how the accident occurred, but we had a very clear window of a security camera image video
Oh,
of
cool.
this accident take place. So we could actually see how fast the truck was going. And they claimed that it was going at an excessive speed. It wasn't hard to figure out how fast it was going.
Right. Making
The
a left
truck,
or right hand turn.
the length of the truck is, a certain distance, and then you can measure the distance between maybe a light pole and a sign or something like that. And then you time how long it takes that truck to pass, and you can figure out the speed of the truck. And we calculated it was less than 17 or 18 miles an hour. to make it through this intersection. Anyway, that's an aside that doesn't really relate to last clear chance rule, but it's
It does actually because and it also and what I'm also hearing as I'm trying to find it, I think it's going to be like episode like 26 or 25 or something like that because I've started keeping track of those sorts of things on here. One of the things that you can look at again as adjusters when you are looking to determine liability is where the little pieces of metal are, which again is the reason why you've got to begin your investigation immediately because that stuff gets swept up. But you can also look at the skid marks, right?
Mhm.
It is episode 26 exactly. Yeah, episode 26 exactly. So if you go back to episode 26, we talk about mist, which is minor impact low or minor impact soft tissue. And
Soft
then I was
tissue.
I was also looking at episode 40, which we were talking about determining liability. And then so if you need talking about determining liability, like who's negligent, who's at fault, and all that. That's episode 40 anyway. But I totally get that. And one of the things that comes up that I experience because I kind of got my breaking in as an insurance adjuster with semi tractor trailer rig accidents is that whole right hand squeeze thing.
Mm.
Because as you were talking about a semi tractor trailer rig, and if you've never handled semi tractor trailer rig losses, and you're not familiar with them, they make wide turns,
Yep.
specifically right hand turns, because they have a long box that's, I don't know, 26, 34, 54 feet long, and it doesn't turn.
Right.
But it's on what's called a fifth wheel, and that's where it turns. So the tractor turns, and so to get this big old trailer around this sharp curve, it does have to swing wide.
Hmm.
And a lot of people not realizing this, common drivers not realizing this, will speed up thinking, oh, the driver's going straight, even though they've got a blinker on, and they get hit. Who's at fault? I'm always going to say it was the person who is sneaking up on the right hand side because you should know they've got placards on the back of their truck.
Hmm.
Caution,
Yeah.
wide right hand turns and things like that. And another thing that an adjuster I think needs to be looking at when we're talking about determining liability and the rules of the road and everything, pay attention to the signs on the road.
Oh
I
yeah.
I was working with a guy once who was trying to determine liability, and he just couldn't. I mean, it was like a he said, she said deal, and he, was going back and forth on liability and everything. And the insured went back to the scene of the accident and as the insured was driving quite dangerously, was videotaping on his phone the intersection that he was going through when this accident occurred. And because the question was, did the guy sideswipe me or did I sideswipe the guy? And you couldn't tell by the physical damage. And as the insured was driving through this it was a merge intersection, of course, then what we saw was a sign that alerted the people who had the right of way, hey, there's going to be people merging. And I said, there is your example right there. Then I would say that it's 100% your insured's fault because while he has the right of way and while that other person has the duty and to exercise reasonable care to merge correctly, I mean, he knows that our insured who's going straight knows that someone's going to be merging.
Yeah.
So
Right of way.
slow down.
Right of way never equals permission to crash.
Exactly. I think that's the best way to say it.
Yeah. And that relates to your duty of care as a driver.
Hmm.
So yeah, one person has a duty of care to merge when they know it's clear. The other person has a duty of care to back off if they have an opportunity to avoid a collision.
Right.
And and then you get into comparative and
Blah, blah, blah.
we can talk about different states and how that applies, but that
Yeah.
would just confuse things.
And the guy ended up giving the insured like 60% um, at fault. And I'm like, fine. He goes, I don't want to like totally make it 100% his fault because he's our insured. And I'm like, fine, whatever, I would, but yeah. But this is another thing. Let's talk about, like passing and
Hmm.
everything. You got to pass when it's safe to pass, not just because you're pissed off that there's a
Right.
Mennonite in front of you or,
Right.
whatever. And like I said, there's this right hand squeeze that I was talking about. And I think it kind of closely relates to that improper lane usage, which you had said earlier, like, how did this accident happen all the way off the white lines?
Right.
Uh, so yeah.
So here's another when it comes to passing and making sure it's clear, you can't just check for oncoming vehicles in the opposite lane of travel. You also have to make sure that nobody that you're passing intends to make a left-hand turn.
Right.
Because if they were to do that, you would hit them as they made their left-hand turn.
Exactly.
So watch for turn signals. Another thing, and I almost witnessed what would have been had to have been a fatal accident. There was a tractor trailer coming up a hill, and there was a line of cars behind it. There was a car in front of me approaching the highway,
Hmm.
and so this was a 55 mile an hour road we were approaching, and the guy in front of me was going to make a right-hand turn. As he started his right-hand turn, this vehicle behind the semi pulled out to pass it,
Mm,
and they almost hit each other.
mm,
Luckily, the guy in front of me had the wherewithal to use his last clear chance skills and veered to the right off the shoulder as he was honking his horn and
and probably
um,
using some hand signals.
spouting some prayers toward the individual. Uh,
Yes.
so, I mean, so you got to be aware of like situational awareness is really a thing, and it not only applies to the cars that are headed towards you, opposing traffic. It's also cars, tractors, pedestrians that may be entering the roadway from a driveway or another
Mhm.
road or whatever.
Yes. Yes. Because we haven't even talked about that. People like entering from their driveways or merging or what have you. I see this every once in a while, and God knows I do it. And it is usually when I don't know where I'm going or something, and then GPS is like, "You're supposed to be exiting now," and I'm like, "Oh, well, I have out of state plates. That's okay. I can go." And and that's cutting 3 lanes across to
Hmm.
get to your exit. Of course, that's improper lane usage, and we're not supposed to do that. And if I were to hit anybody, then yeah, I would be at fault. So, you know we've got to pay attention. And if I were doing that and someone was you right behind me, they should be slamming on their brakes too, because just because they have the right of way and I'm an idiot because I'm out of state doesn't mean they get to have an accident.
Hmm. There are many accidents where I've talked to people and they literally had no idea how it happened.
Mm,
The motorcycle claim I mentioned earlier,
yeah.
uh, he never saw the guy. All he felt an impact and he saw a flash of
Mm,
something dark going over the hood, and he didn't realize what happened until he stopped, got his bearings, looked around,
hmm.
and then got out and saw a motorcycle at the front of his vehicle.
Yeah.
And but that's not always the case.
No. Uh, you
Many of
know,
the accidents that you see, I could see it coming. I
mm,
could see, if you could see it
if you can
coming.
see it coming, you need to avoid it.
Hmm.
And
You need to at least demonstrate that you tried.
yes. Okay. So this happens to be I'm going to go left field just for a second. This happens to be an unpopular kind of liability choice, but slip and falls. If you saw the water on the floor, don't step in it and slip.
Right.
You had the last clear duty to avoid this.
Yep.
And then conversely, if water just got there and we didn't know about it as the landlord or whatever, we also cannot be held that responsible because, oh, I don't know. I mean, we've got a duty to clean it up, but we need to know about it.
Notice. Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to
we have
have.
to have notice. So, there's a couple of different things in that aspect, but we're talking about last clear notice and being aware of your surroundings.
Right.
Just, you're operating what, a 2-ton machine, a 1-ton machine that can kill people. I, you know, um,
So there's another aspect of negligence and liability to discuss called foreseeability, and that
mm,
has to do with your ability to know that a hazard exists or that a risk of an accident exists.
yes,
You had just mentioned that, if a property owner doesn't know that there's a slippery condition, how are they supposed to mitigate it or
exactly,
warn about it?
exactly.
Um, and in on the road,
Mm,
foreseeability relates to whether or not you had the wherewithal to understand that there may be something wrong here that could cause an accident. And
like the hill
the
thing.
hill, yeah.
Yes.
And it's funny because that the foreseeability, the window for foreseeability in a car accident is about that big
Mm-hmm.
versus a
And if you're
premises
listening,
liability.
it's like just like a paper thin, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
literally, yeah.
Versus a premises liability where, a situation could be existing for hours or days that
Hmm.
somebody doesn't know about.
Hmm.
Um, but in a vehicle, you've got to make very quick decisions, and you'll be judged on those decisions in some cases if you make the wrong decision.
Right.
That's why liability insurance exists, though, because people do make the wrong decisions from time to time. So foreseeability,
And so, when that comes up, and this is something that I think is important too when we're talking about, and I just want to mention this real quick. When we're talking about evidence, gathering evidence immediately, we've talked about videos, we've talked about looking at where the points of impact are, looking at where the little crunches of metal or plastic and everything is on the road, because that will tell you where the impact occurred on the road.
mm,
Used to be in old adjusters, such as myself, know this, that if you had, for example, a rear end or a front end accident, the light filaments in your headlights or your tail lights would like stretch if they were on and they suddenly got turned off or whatever because they hit someone.
right.
Nowadays, with cars having LED lights and some blinkers, we don't have that filament anymore. So just FYI,
Mm.
it's the price of us all advancing in technology, but also we need to find another way. Again,
But now there's
laws.
onboard computers that track
Yes,
all that stuff
absolutely.
instead that are probably giving way better and
Better.
more reliable
True.
information than the filaments.
But speaking of this foreseeability, my in-laws were unable to come to Kansas City for Thanksgiving because of the winter storm up in the upper Midwest.
Hmm.
And so we're talking rain, snow, fog, ice, blah, blah, blah. Again, if it's raining, even sprinkling, whatever, you can't be going 100 billion miles an hour because then there's oil on the road and you could spin out or whatever. So what we're talking about is again the foreseeability.
Hmm.
If it's snowing, you got to slow down. And
Yep.
and then maybe this is when you drive 35 miles an hour on the freeway in heavy fog, even though the speed limit is 65. So if you get rear-ended, then Am I saying you're at fault? I can't say that. I need to know all the facts. But I'm saying the person who did the rear ending probably, if they're going faster than that, that might not be a good idea. You know, they
So,
were driving for conditions. They were driving for foreseeability.
yeah, and weather conditions are a huge factor. Not just they make the road slippery, they make visibility bad.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they stress people out,
Mm-hmm.
and stressed people don't make the best drivers sometimes. They're
No.
very cautious for sure,
Yes.
but they don't always make the best decisions. And I've seen confused drivers just stop. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably not a good idea,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're off the road.
Right.
Um, but one story that I like to tell young drivers in particular is that when I'm at an intersection waiting for the red light to turn green, I don't look at the light and then go when it turns green without looking to my left and then to my right, just to make sure nobody else is ignoring the stoplight,
Again,
because I'm not going
yes.
to die because I obeyed a traffic signal.
Right. Okay. And again, that is foreseeability. That
Mhm,
is being able to be aware of your surroundings. And again, all of this is rules of the road. It's
mhm,
not necessarily a law,
right.
but it's what adjusters need to be paying attention to. Because you can go through the intersection on a yellow. A yellow is only caution. It's like, hey, there's getting ready to be warning, there's getting ready to be a red light.
Right.
Um, some of us, certainly not I, never me, have gone through on a yellow and it turned red right smack dab in the middle.
I never do that.
I would never, ever do that. It is so dangerous. And anyway,
Well, I have a story about that. It just happened about 3 weeks ago, and it
okay.
stuck in my mind because it was so dangerous.
Mm,
I was kind of the lead vehicle with some cars behind me. There was nobody
mhm,
really in front of us, and we were approaching a red light. It turned yellow. It turned red well before I got there.
mhm,
I slow down to a stop, and the guy behind me just wings out to my left, goes
mm.
around me, and passes me through the red light. I could not believe what I saw.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, oh, I always have to sit there and go, maybe they have some kind of emergency. Yeah.
Must have
Blessings on
been
them. You know what I'm
two
saying?
miles down the road. I caught up to him and I was behind him, so he couldn't have been in that much of a hurry.
No, that's true.
Um,
Yeah. My husband likes to, when they pass them, and then we catch up to them at the next stoplight, like, hey, how'd that work out for you? I'm like,
yeah.
don't say that to him because we're going to get shot.
You can
Um,
bestow some blessings on him.
yes, exactly. We're going to bestow some blessings and maybe some hand signals on them,
Yes,
but
yes.
you can't do that. So anyway, driving foreseeability, driving for the weather. This is
Mhm.
also rules of the road. I mean, there are a lot of other rules of the road, but we're not going to like get all into that. And I get part of the thing that I've mentioned too is just because your insured gets a ticket doesn't mean they are necessarily responsible
Mhm.
or liable
Yeah.
for the accident, because it could be that the other vehicle didn't maintain control of their vehicle or didn't yield. And so, because again, using my example of control of the intersection and foreseeability, I give the participants of the facilitation of CBCU 530, I give them, of course, the rear impact, the rear quarter panel, the side door impact, and then I give them the front quarter panel, passenger side. And I'm like, okay, so who's at fault now? And oh, it's still the left hand side. And I'm like, yeah, I would probably agree with that because again, that's the front, and they did not have control of the intersection. So, but you wanted to talk about left hand turn or four-way stops too, and the only thing I remember about four-way stops, and this was in Arkansas, was reading about how if we were all to pull up together, we're supposed to defer to the person on our right. And I'm like, but everybody's on our right. So do we do
I
rock,
was
paper,
taught the left.
scissors, or how do we
Yeah, I
do?
was taught the left.
Oh, were you
That you
taught
wait for
left?
the
Oh my gosh.
you
So, if a New Yorker and Arkansan get together, we are definitely going to hit one
you're
another.
gonna crash.
Yeah.
Actually, the four-way stops, I think we can all figure out. I think one informational piece that we should probably close out here with
Mm,
is uh, the rules of the road and the liability immunities that are available to
mm,
emergency vehicles and
mm-hmm.
to municipal vehicles.
Yes.
This is a New York thing. I don't know if this exists in other states. I'm guessing it does, but so rule number one, if you see red flashing lights, you pull over
Pull
to the
over.
side
Yeah.
to the right as far as possible and come to a complete stop.
Mm-hmm.
And most people do that, but every once in a while, there's some dingaling
Yes.
who just doesn't get it.
Just doesn't get it.
Yep, they're either lost in space, or the radio's too
Radio's
loud,
too
and
loud.
they're blind, deaf, and dumb. And just do that, people, for crying. It's give them a break, you know.
And I will say some of the times that I see people freeze on this particular topic is when we're all at a stop sign
Hmm.
and we get a green light, like the ambulance is coming up behind us, we're all at a stoplight. We
Hmm.
get a green light and we're like, crap, which one of us goes? I would think it would be the people on the left, like the second, they would go pull over so that the ambulance or the police officer or the fire truck or whatever can go. Conversely, if you have a green light at this intersection and you see the lights coming, that doesn't mean go because
Right.
the police, the ambulance, or whatever are going to be coming through that intersection at a great
Wait
speed.
until they're clear before
Yes.
you go.
Just because you have a green light, unless they're coming up behind you and you need to clear the intersection so they can get through.
Yeah, and if that's the case, you turn your wheels hard to the right and just
Yes.
go as far as you can. And it
Yes.
may not be very far, but at least you're sending the signal to that
Exactly.
emergency vehicle driver that, okay, this guy knows I'm coming. He's
Hmm.
making an effort to get out of the way. I can see he can't really get anywhere, but
Yes.
at least he's showing to me
Yes.
his effort to do so. Turn your right signal on too, just so
Right.
that everybody
Or
knows that you're
blinkers or
trying to get
something.
over.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
common sense courtesy in a way. Um, so that's very important. And the other thing that's very important is here in New York, again, because we have so many snow plows,
Mm.
but this applies to any maintenance vehicle for a municipality. If they're maintaining a public highway of any kind, um, they have a different standard of negligence to prove. You have to prove a recklessness standard um, rather than regular negligence, and it's
Mm.
a higher standard.
Right.
So, for example, if a snowplow were to merge unsafely, let's say,
Mm.
and cause a fender bender, you'd have to prove that that snowplow driver was acting in a reckless manner, not just negligence.
Would that be willful and wanton kind of deal?
Willful, wanton disregard for the
Mm.
public safety of others.
Right.
So,
Okay.
um, could an attorney make a case like
Probably.
that? Possibly. Possibly. And you know, if you're a purist when it comes to negligence and liability and um, apportioning fault, you might say, well, it doesn't matter whether it's a fatality or a fender bender. You have to judge them in the same way. It's not what happens. Like a fatality, definitely going to be different circumstances, even if if the plow driver turns right and sideswipes a car,
Mm.
and you take the exact same scenario and he turns right and runs somebody over and kills them. Those are two of the same circumstances where the driver of the plow made the same decision, but vastly different outcome, way more serious outcome in the second example.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, we don't have to hash that out necessarily, but in general, in New York, these municipal operators have different duty. They have it's a standard of recklessness. So just
Right.
remember that.
I don't necessarily know if it's what the standard is in like Arkansas, Texas. I've had my driver's license in Texas,
Are there
Arkansas, of
snowplows
course.
in
And
Texas?
no, I mean, talking about the municipal cars,
Yeah.
things of that nature. But no, I think there's one snowplow for the entire state of Texas. Arkansas, because we're a little bit further north, we have three snowplows for the entire state.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's the entire state. And anyway, um, we and in Kansas too. I don't know what the standard is, but what I'm saying is same thing. I think everybody has that where you just pull all the way over to the right. And like I
Hmm.
said, the time that I see people freeze the most is, oh my gosh, there is an ambulance coming from the rear. We are all stopped at a stoplight. And how do we get out of its way? Now, I've seen the ambulance go across the median and cut across, of course. And then I've seen it where the light turns green and the people on the right nearest the curb stay still, and the people in the middle or the left, they go forward and then pull right after the intersection.
Hmm.
I've seen it both ways. But anyway, but yeah, that's also kind of a rule of the road. You got to let those people go through.
I
So,
have a funny story about an ambulance. We were working for an ambulance company. We handled their claims, and they had many different types of claims, everything under the sun.
mm,
Most of them related to people not recognizing lights and sirens.
mm,
In this case, the lady saw them coming up from behind them, panicked, went to the right as fast as she could, and rear-ended a parked car.
bless her.
And her insurance company made the case that it was the ambulance's fault.
Are you serious? Okay, as
Uh,
an adjuster, guys, that's no. I know we go pursue subrogation. No,
no,
that is not that's
they
not it.
were ultimately not successful. And I
Yeah.
explained why to both the other insurance company and this young lady who was seeking her deductible back,
Mm.
um, why the rules of the road are what they are. And she actually thanked me
Oh, yeah.
later.
You know, if you think about it, we studied the rules of the road when we were what, 16, 14, 14 in Arkansas. You can get your driver's license at 14,
Mhm.
or you used to. They may have raised it, but you have to drive with an adult, a 21-year-old at least. And so did we pay attention? We paid attention enough to pass our test so that we can get wheels because, as you said,
Right.
Americans love our cars. And have we forgotten it? Yes. Thank God we don't have to retake the test because I probably would fail. But there you go. So,
You are, according to Google, you are correct. If two vehicles arrive at the same time, the vehicle to the right goes first. If two
but they're
vehicles
both
are,
at the right. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So then do we do rock, paper, scissors?
um,
I mean, in theory, because everybody knows you just do the like two, like go ahead.
yeah,
But like, what does the test say? Does the test say that we got to do rock, paper, scissors? Do
um,
we arm wrestle for it?
right.
I mean, how if four people were coming up to a four-way stop at the same time,
So
and
the
it's
first
always,
vehicle there always has the right of
oh yeah,
way,
the first one there's always got the right of way. But
and you always yield to the right. So when two vehicles arrive at a four-way stop at the same time, side by side, the vehicle furthest to the right always has the right of way.
okay,
Three vehicles at the same time, the car furthest left should
left,
continue.
right, correct, or
And
correct, yes.
straight traffic takes the right of way over turning traffic. Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
Well, yeah, but let's say we're all going straight. Anyway,
Oh, here we go. Who has the right of way if four cars approach a four-way stop at the same time?
we
There is
arm
no
wrestle.
designated rule as to who should go first. However, it is recommended that you wait for the most aggressive driver to make the first move and then proceed with caution using the rules above from there.
So, with that in mind, drop us a
Assertive. They should say
comment.
assertive instead of aggressive here, I think.
Right? Okay. So, with that in mind, drop us a note saying that you are quote, assertive, end quote, instead of aggressive. And like, comment, letting us know, share, comment, letting us know that you've shared, and we'll mention you or whatever.
Four-way stops are not for the timid, I guess.
No,
You've
they're
got to
not.
be
And you know what?
assertive.
I always am the quote most aggressive end quote
Yeah.
because I have a Mini Cooper and it has a little pep in it. So
Oh,
I
zoom.
mean, it does. It because it was in what was it, Ocean's 11 or something to that
Right.
effect where yeah, it's what Aaron always thinks that he's driving when he's driving my car. So
Go down the stairs.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, don't use my car like this, babe. This is my car. You use your Toyota like that. Uh, so December 18th is when our next podcast is. We don't have a topic yet, but
Oh, I've got something in the wings.
oh, is it Santa? Is
It's
Santa
going to
coming?
be fun.
Okay,
No,
great.
it's not a Christmas
Oh,
theme. Although I could
oh.
probably should do a Christmas theme.
Well, it doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be just holiday themed, but
Holiday theme.
because Santa is, holiday-ish. But
Yeah.
there you go. So know the rules of the road. Right? Be the most aggressive driver. Drop us a comment, and then get a friend. Suggest us to your friends.
Yeah. And
Um,
so it occurs to me that that on Spotify, there's not a real good way to comment or message. There is
yes.
on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and people do that, and thank you for that. So I would say that if you've got something, if you listen to us on Spotify and you got something to say, um, comment on LinkedIn. You can find us both
Yes.
there, and
Yes.
tell us what you thought about whatever episode. If you think that I'm dead wrong about something, let me know. And if you think Chantal is dead right about something,
Of course. Let me
let me
know.
know.
Because I'm always
Uh,
right.
yeah.
And if you want to hear a topic or something, also let us
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah. It's a wild world out there in insurance
Exactly.
claims, and we
You know
don't
of a
see it
guest that we
all.
need to
And
have on, so let
yeah,
us
yeah.
know.
Or if you want to be a guest yourself, that's another suggestion.
Yeah,
So, all
absolutely.
right.
So we will see you on the 18th, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Art of Adjusting podcast, where we talk about life as an insurance adjuster.
If you enjoyed this podcast or this episode, please give us 5 stars and a review. It does help the algorithm pick us up.
Hit that subscribe button real quick and tell all of your adjuster friends to check this out as well. For independent adjusting services, go to www.auton.claims. And for anyone interested in working as an independent liability adjuster, go to the Contact Us tab to join our roster.
In the meantime, you can contact me at theartofadjusting.com for consulting and training purposes.